I watched all of season 1 this week, except I didn't get to the last 4 episodes, but I've seen it at least 4 or 5 times. I watched every episode, so I know
I
them
mean,
well, but I did break down kind of the first 9 episodes pretty well.
but that's the thing, because with Schitt's Creek, I mean, it's gonna sound like a contradictory statement. There's a lot going on, but it's slow paced.
Yep,
You know
yep,
what I mean?
yep,
Because because for Johnny and the Rose family, their life just collapses when they find out that Johnny's business partner basically screwed them, and they end up losing everything, and they end up having to live in a town called Schitt's Creek, which Johnny bought for David pretty much as a joke, but it turns out, oh well, we really have no other place to go, so we'll go here. What I find really really funny is the fact that throughout the entire season, Johnny is trying his damnedest to try to sell the place.
yeah, yeah.
But I guess for whatever reason, either I mean, things just keep coming up where Johnny just can't get the deal done. Um, and I think the biggest obstacle of all is Roland, because from the very get go, Roland kind of develops like the sort of affection for Johnny and the Rose family.
Yeah.
Um, well, before I go any further, Dan, I mean, what is it about Schitt's Creek that made you say, you know what, let's go ahead and talk about Schitt's Creek, because I love this show and I feel it's something worth talking about in great detail. What is it about Schitt's Creek that you find so appealing?
Yeah, well, right from the start, I grew up um, watching SCTV,
Mm-hmm.
and so I knew all the characters very well. And yeah, as soon as and so CBC in Canada here was first airing Schitt's Creek, and I was listening to CBC radio, and they were talking how much of a hit the show is going to be, and how good the writing and the characters, and how much they enjoy doing it. And so we started watching it, and right away just fell in love with the characters so much. And yeah, I thought it was a great story, and it was unique. It was, and so right away, yeah, just the way the characters were developing, and the way that they kind of got used to being in this town and had to really change their lifestyle to suit the town. And I think Jocelyn said at one point, like, Moira, like, you keep pushing it away, can't wait to get out, but at some point you might have to go shop at the blouse barn for something,
Mm-hmm.
like, and realize we're not that bad, and you might just have to kind of give in. And then at that point, I think it was the next episode where they went to the anniversary party, the barbecue,
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of started to connect with the Shits and the rest of the town.
I mean, but that's the thing, because everybody in the town is just so warm and welcoming. It's
Yeah,
like it's that proverbial small town hospitality.
yeah,
But what makes it so funny is the fact that you have like these big city, you know, big wigs who just basically think, oh, I'm too cool for this place.
yeah,
I think the one person who is like the biggest offender, with that mentality is David,
yeah,
really. Because David is just he's just so determined to kind of to get back to the life that he's always known. Because he talks about how he's always hanging out how he lives in New York, he knows all these people. But what I find so fascinating is the fact that even though David, fondly talks about how much he loves New York, what's fascinating is the fact that he doesn't really have any friends.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah, Alexis said that to him at one point. She's like, "Where are your friends? Have you talked to them lately?" And he's like, "Oh, they're busy or whatever, right?" But yeah, and then he
because
slowly realized Stevie's probably the best friend he ever had. Yeah,
the last episode is when okay, we'll be jumping around all over the place, so bear
yeah,
with me, everybody. But in the last episode, when David talks about, oh, I'm going to move back to New York, I'm going to get this 2-bedroom apartment, Stevie, I want you to come with me. She points out, well, why can't you just get any of your other friends? And you kind of begin to get the sense that David's actually a pretty lonely guy. You
yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. The same with Alexis. All her friends seemed to be phony through it, whole thing too. She was calling, saying like, "You got to get me out of here," and she's like, "Can you step out of the club for a minute so you can hear me on the phone?" Like that. And yeah, it just kind of continued like that when her friends came in season 4 or 5. when they dropped by, and they were like, "Oh, you got to come with us," but they didn't really. There was nothing, no real connection there besides just the fake. You know.
So
They were
let me
coming.
so let me ask you this: as a Canadian, I mean, you guys have a reputation for being very happy-go-lucky, very nice, very very self-effacing. People can, Donald Trump can threaten to invade your country, and you would just smile and just wave and say, "Well, have a nice day." Do you feel like Schitt's Creek kind of perpetuates that stereotype, or do you think it kind of presents like an honest view of what Canada is like?
I think Schitt's Creek, yeah, it seems very Canadian. I mean, yeah, with the openness and the politeness and accepting for sure, and the quirkiness,
Hmm.
at the same time. But yeah, very much so, very accepting and yeah, opening their arms for the roses. It's very Canadian, I thought.
Hmm. And
Very-
and not to mention the fact you've got two comedic legends. You got Eugene Levy.
Yeah,
Um, Anybody who's seen American Pie will definitely remember him from there. And then, my God, Catherine O'Hara. It's like, I mean, it's like like name any movie you want. Like she's a phenomenal actress.
yeah,
Um, and if you think about it too, like there aren't any other actors to play those roles apart from Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara. You
yeah,
know.
yeah. Most definitely, yeah. Their chemistry is fantastic, and the rest of the cast is pretty much all Canadian as well, except for Roland, I think. Yeah, Annie, who plays Alexis. Yeah, she just they put out a calling cast for basically Canadians when they were doing the shoot,
Hmm.
and yeah, she just stepped in, and they were. Yeah, Johnny, I heard him saying like he said no right away because he was expecting like the blonde, the bleach blonde, and but David was like, no, we auditioned this girl. She's absolutely perfect for the part. And then Ted, yeah, Ted knew David as well, um, Dan Levy. And Dan says, you got to come down and try out for this part. And he's like, oh, you mean I got the part? And he's like, well, I mean, try out for the part. But yeah, Ted just fit in perfect as well. What a great actor for that part.
I mean, but what's so great too is the fact that it's like all these characters that kind of know their place. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because with some sitcoms, you kind of see one character. One character will try to dominate all the others, right? So, like, take for instance Seinfeld, right?
yeah,
As much as people love the sitcom, whenever people think of that show, they're gonna automatically think of Jerry Seinfeld. Like all the other characters are kind of in the background doing their own thing. George is off doing his thing. Kramer, he pops in every now and then, and Elaine is just trying to find someone who's sponge worthy, right?
yeah, yeah,
Whereas with Schitt's Creek, you kind of get the sense that everybody is kind of on an equal playing field, right?
yeah, yeah,
So so Johnny, so we see what Johnny's up to, we see what Moira is doing, and then we'll just pop and see what Alexis is doing with Mutt, and I think it's such a funny recurring gag that Alexis is just doing the community service and she's dressed to the nines, like it's like once I'm done, I've got to head to the Met, to the Met Gala. So,
yeah,
I just got to peel this off. And then David, he keeps going back to Stevie because he's got nobody else to turn to. So everybody, all four leads are not overpowering each other.
yeah. Yeah, I was laughing out loud at a lot of the parts last night. I was watching a couple episodes. And yeah, the fight between Ted and Mutt for Alexis because Ted's such a goody goody and she's not used to having such a nice guy. And then the one point, yeah, she's because he got the wrong food order and he wouldn't send it back and it was just driving her crazy. And she was trying to say that to Mutt, and Mutt's putting down Ted every chance he can. And she's like, if you order the wrong food, just send it back. And even I was like, well, no, that's just rude. Like that was making me laugh so hard because
I mean,
I was like, no, man, you don't do that.
I kind of feel bad for Ted because it's like because
Yeah,
didn't he mention how at one point Mutt used to like bully him as a kid?
yeah, yeah. I used to beat him up and bully him. Yeah, all the time. Yeah, high school. Yeah,
And I was just thinking, and I was just thinking, I think Ted is the quintessential Canadian. Like he's just going to
yeah,
be nice about everything.
yeah, yeah. After the date, yeah, he kissed her on the cheek. He's like, oh, did he give you a handshake? She's like, yeah, well, he did that too. Yeah, yeah, that was great.
I mean but I think that's what makes this show so cool and so fascinating is the fact that you've got this it's like a comedy of manners, really, where like these rich people they're trying so hard to live like ordinary people,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the small town. um and now you were telling me before we started recording that you actually been to the town. Like, how big is it? Like, how many buildings are there? Because
Oh, it's an extremely small. It's like a little village, pretty much. It's
okay.
just like the main corner where everything happens. That's where, yeah, that's where the apothecary is, right across the road from Tropicana, and then right beside that is Bob's garage. And so it was all filmed right in that same corner. You can see them all shoots. Yeah. So
So it's really just 5 buildings?
yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And yeah, and Roland's place is just down the road, and then the city hall, the town council, is just up the road as well. And the
So
motel is another just 40 minutes away, the old abandoned motel where they filmed.
what I was gonna say, because when they move into that motel, you kind of get the feeling it's in the middle of nowhere anywhere.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it
it
kind of
is. But then when you see the shots of the main intersection, you can see they
Mhm.
have like a Schitt's Creek motel sign just down the road, just past Roland's. But it isn't down there. It's actually at a different location. But
Oh, I must have missed that then, because I'm thinking of that episode where Johnny is trying to get to the welfare office,
yeah,
and he's like,
yeah,
he tries to do the test drive, and he ends up walking all
yeah,
the
yeah,
way.
yeah. Well, Roland's just too much. And it's like, forget it all. But then
Yeah,
he has to go back to Roland after the car breaks down that he got from Bob. But yeah, it
yeah,
was funny. Well, you just got to tell me where you're going. He's like, I'm going to an appointment. Well, where's the appointment? Well, it's in this building. Well, what building? And then he's like, fine, I'm going to the welfare office. It's like, well, that's your business. You don't have to share it with me.
I mean,
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Roland is such a hoot
Yeah,
because on the one hand, you can you can sort of empathize with Johnny. It's like, this guy is kind of a bit much, he just wants to know what's going on.
yeah,
But at the same time, it's like, well, he is trying to help you out, Johnny. Like, maybe cut
yeah,
him some slack a little bit,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. And then he comes to defend him at the end there when they're at the restaurant with the fancy friends. And he said, and they were making fun of the town, right? Shittsville.
Hmm.
And then he says, yeah, like when I need a truck, like Roland's always there and Jocelyn's always there. These are our real friends. And we're proud of this place that we call home now. So
Yeah.
that was a real touching episode.
So you go and visit. You were visiting the town earlier today. Is it a very popular spot that people just like to go and visit, just because they're such huge fans of the show, or?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, every time we go there. Yeah, and right on the other corner that you don't see in the show, it's Anita's Bakery, and that's where they always used to hang out during the shoots, was this bakery, and it was absolutely packed today. And there's always people in front of the apothecary or the Tropicana getting their pictures taken, and in front of Bob's garage getting their pictures taken. And so yeah, the Tropicana is just like a rental like loft now. It's not anything, but the apothecary is now like an apothecary kind of store, and
Okay.
it's really cool because they actually leaned into it. They have new owners now, and they have a sign out front, and it's the Schitt's Creek, "Welcome to Schitt's Creek" sign with the man making sure his sister doesn't fall into the creek, and they have
Right.
it kind of cut out of the head so you can stick your heads through it and get your picture taken if they hurt you. So it's really cool. So they have that little sign in front of the apothecary now. So it's
Oh
really
my God.
yeah, it's constant tour attraction for sure. There's always
Did,
people there getting their
did
pictures
you
taken.
did you do anything with the sign? Did you try to put your head through?
Oh yeah, my wife and I did, yeah. And they have a sign that says, "Don't worry, they're Schitt's Creek fans," instead of "Don't worry, it's my sister," right? So yeah, we got our pictures taken with their heads through the hole for sure. Yeah.
I mean, definitely, definitely let me know where your Instagram is. I'll follow you there, and I'll put the link in the description below so everybody can check it out.
All right, great.
Um, but so I want to go back to the episodes here, because there are 13 episodes in the first season, and
Yeah,
for the most part, it's pretty much standard fare when it comes to comedy of manners, right? It's just it's just people who are accustomed to a certain lifestyle, basically being knocked a peg or 15, right?
yeah,
And they're trying really really hard to adjust to life in a motel and trying to make sense of what's going on.
It was
What's
funny when Alexis changed her story when she was getting out of there,
yeah.
because her boyfriend Stavros was sending the plane to pick her up, and she's like, "Oh, this place is so quaint and it's so cute," and and it's like really, and then yeah, he wasn't coming to get her, and then David's like, "You still think this place is cute, and quaint?" That was quite funny.
I mean, and what I love, what I love too, is the fact that Johnny is just he's just trying so hard to find a way to sell Schitt's Creek, right?
Yeah,
But then you got Roland, who's kind of, and I want to get your take on this too, because I kind of get the feeling that Roland is intentionally doing all of this, right? Like,
yeah. Well, he wants to show he's in control. He's the mayor. If there's someone's asked to kiss, it's mine.
mhm.
And he always wants to show that he is the man of the
but
town.
but see, here's the thing that confuses me. So Roland is the mayor of Schitt's Creek, so he's basically like the head honcho, right?
Yeah,
But Johnny and his fam, well, I guess technically David, uh, you know, I guess they would own the town because they bought it, right?
yeah, yeah.
So, so does Johnny answer to Roland, or does Roland answer to Johnny?
Yeah. Well, Johnny said it's a dance or whatever, and he's leading, but yeah, they were kind of back and forth on the whole thing. Because
Okay.
yeah, you had to wait till after dinner before I signed the papers, so it seemed like Roland was definitely in charge, but Johnny was still playing like he was the one leading the dance the whole time. But
But yeah, but that's the thing. Like, he wasn't doing the dance properly. I felt like if he kind of like did a power move, because that was the thing I kept thinking like over and over again. I'm like, if Johnny kind of did this thing where he was like, "All right, Roland, well, like we'll do it, but you gotta do it at my place, or we gotta do it at the cafe."
yeah,
Then he's doing the dance properly, and I kind of feel like then Roland is he's beginning to respect him, right? Because Roland's a very friendly guy,
yeah,
but I kind of feel like at the same time he's not. He's trying to test Johnny to see just how savvy he is.
yeah,
Um, you know what I mean?
yeah. Well, I'm pulling the doors off in the motel.
Okay, that we have to talk about because I did not understand the reason for any of that.
Well, because his dad, that's the way Roland's dad punished him before. I think he said like privacy is earned, it's not given, or something like that. So his dad would take the doors off of his room when he'd want to punish Roland. So
But
and Johnny's
but
like, this makes no sense to me at all. And he's like, well, fine, I just wanted to take your doors off. Like,
because when he introduces himself to the Rose family for the very first time, he kind of invites himself in and kind of
yeah,
helps himself to the fruit, and then he goes and takes a dump for a while.
yeah, for a long time, yeah. And
So
then and
yeah,
Johnny was so polite too, right? Well, thank you very much for coming and thanks for showing it. But then he eventually said, yeah, just get the F out.
yeah. So it's like,
But
come on, Roland, come on, take the
yeah.
hint, take the hint. Um,
And Roland always with the washrooms. Yeah, I came back a few more times. They went over to sign the papers, and he was in the washroom at the time. It's like, oh, there's no big surprise there. And then the yoga, they had the yoga in Mutt's barn, and it's like, yeah, Mutt or Roland couldn't come because he had a bad burrito, right?
well, it's perfect you bring up Mutt too, because Mutt was one of those characters that he really, really fascinated me, right?
Yep.
Because because Alexis is she's doing community service, she's doing it with Mutt, so they're like community service pals, right?
Yeah.
And they're doing like, and I have to say, these are like some of the most random odd jobs that you could ever have someone do, right? They're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's basically Huckleberry Finn. They're like painting fences or walls,
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
that.
Well, it was great when she's dressed all fancy like that, and she's trying to shovel up the roadkill. And he's like, "Oh, for God's sake!" And he just picks it up with his hand and throws it in the garbage.
but I mean, but the thing but we come to find out Mutt is Jocelyn and Roland's kid, and apparently Roland has like some sort of issue with Mutt, because I think Mutt is just being a millennial or something. Like, he's
Yeah,
just like,
he's doing his own thing in that, and yeah, Roland wanted to follow in his shoes and become the mayor, and yeah, he was not wanting to be a part of that. That's for sure.
yeah, because he lives in a barn, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because because we really don't know that much about him apart from the fact he's Jocelyn's and Roland's kid, but you also kind of get the sense that there's more to him than meets the eye, because you actually go to his barn, like it's actually pretty well fitted. It's
Yeah.
like a functioning house, and he's actually a pretty reliable guy. And what really struck me was the fact that at the end of the episode, or at the end of the season, when Alexis is getting her paperwork signed for community service, she comes to find out Mutt, he finished his hours a long time ago.
Yes.
You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, it was great. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Really,
yeah, so really, like you really had no reason to keep doing it. He just wanted to spend time with her.
yeah. Yeah, Alexis, yeah, it was funny when they first met at the tailgate party, where David, did not want to go because he said it sounds like a Ku Klux Klan rally, or yeah, I don't want to be part of a hate crime tonight, so no thanks, that's not for me. And then she just went to get pictures with guys to make Stavros jealous. And yeah, she kissed Mutt, and she was like, David, do you think, there's some connection with me and, that guy? And he's like, the guy who was, roasting meat over the dumpster. Like, yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
I mean, but you come to find out, Mutt has a thing for Alexis,
Yeah. Well, he's
and
going with Twyla at the same time.
I thought that ended.
Yeah, well, at the start it wasn't, because she went over to the barn to meet him, and there was Twyla with him. But
Okay.
later on, Twyla kind of turned her shoulder to Alexa. She wanted to hang out with her, and she's like, yeah, like, remember you told me to dump my boyfriend and then you picked him up right away? So I was like, yeah, I don't know if I really want to hang out tonight, kind of thing.
Because I remember that what was the episode where they were doing the dinner party thing, like they were at Ted's place, and Twyla kind of took issue with the fact that Mutt would tell Alexis all these things, but he didn't tell her. And I was just thinking, yeah, this isn't going to turn out too well. Like,
that was a great episode. Yeah, terribly uncomfortable. My God.
Oh wait, oh yeah, it was episode 10 with the honeymoon episode too. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So the last character that we gotta take a look at is David. And technically, he's not the last character, because we also got to talk about Moira, because Moira is by far like the biggest draw for the series.
Yeah.
But David is, just one of those people where you don't really want to feel sorry for him, because when he loses everything, you're like, well, you kind of deserve it, because you're a spoiled brat. But at the same time, you begin to develop a sort of, affinity for the guy, because you kind of get the sense that he's putting all of this on because he's actually a pretty lonely fella.
Yeah.
There's this one scene where Jocelyn asks David to like give a talk to a gay kid at school.
Yeah.
And the gay kid just like tears him apart.
Yeah, that was great. My God, yeah, that kid was a really good actor. Yeah, that made me laugh a lot.
And I was just thinking, I'm like, because part of me is just thinking, David probably has come to realize, oh my God, like, am I like that? Like, I don't want to be like that.
Yeah. They were good at showing him a mirror. Same with Stevie does the same. The way she pokes him in that, like, do you want the left hammer or the right hammer? Like when the toolbox, you should get the toolbox that says for, cedar chest, or do you want the regular toolbox? And he's like, I'm not sure if you're making fun of me or not, but just in case, which one's the one for the cedar chest, And so, he starts to realize the way she's poking him, he's starting to see his own personality.
Because
the way other people see him.
Well, I was gonna say too, because I think Stevie is like the perfect foil for David. Because if you think about it, David and Alexis are kind of they're kind of the same person if you think about it, right? Because you remember you remember that episode where Johnny is upset he can't get the kids to come even listen to him, but then Moira just says, "Oh, I can't believe he chopped it off," and they just come running in, right? They're like, and David's like, "Oh my God, who chopped off what?"
Yeah.
So really, if you think about it, Stevie is the perfect foil in a way. She's kind of like the surrogate sister, for David. really,
Yeah,
because David and Alexis are kind of, like I said, they're kind of like, one and the same person, really.
yeah,
The only difference is their gender.
yeah,
Um, but I'm really interested to get your thoughts on what you think about the relationship between Stevie and David here.
yeah. I love it. I mean, after probably the second time we watched the whole series, I said to my wife, like, I really love Stevie. I think
Very
she's probably my
suffocated. Okay,
favorite
right. Well,
character.
if
Just
it is
she
a
cracks me up so much. Yeah, when David comes in, he's like, "Is there a business center here?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's right beside the spa, you know." Or do you have like a suite for us? And she's like, "No, this is like a motel. It's more suited for, truckers and drunk teenagers." And she says it with such a serious face, like, you guys just live in a total different world. But the way she really loves David right from the start. Like, I couldn't imagine what this place was like before you were here. And he says, "Yeah, I like you because you have a sense of humor and all that, right?" And yeah, they're brilliant together. I think.
I mean, because if you think about it, she's the straight man in the operation, really.
Yeah, yeah,
Because to your point, like everything she says, it's very monotone and deadpan.
yeah, yeah,
But it's perfect because David is so expressive and he's just reactionary and he just has to he explores the full gamut of the human emotions whereas Stevie is just like, oh yeah, hey, how's it going? Yeah,
yeah,
we don't have any towels.
yeah. I think she's fantastic.
I mean,
Yeah,
the funny part was when they actually was when they were smoking some weed and they end up having a one night stand. Like that was the one thing I did not see coming at
yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah. I know. You could see she was starting to fall for him. Yeah, it was just a couple episodes before that where he said something like, "Yeah, I think I need a friend," and you could tell they were getting closer. But yeah, didn't really see that coming, and I think they were surprised by it themselves.
And what's even funnier too is that Johnny and Moira they're having that discussion, and Johnny's like, "Oh, it's just a phase," like he can't wrap his mouth.
Yeah, yeah,
Davis, like, and they had to do it in the room with the mirror
yeah,
ceiling.
yeah, yeah. That's great.
What was even funnier was when Johnny's like, Stevie, we don't have any towels. And David is just talking to him like, Johnny's gotta hear this in the background.
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
And then
Yeah. Any
David's finally
Any
like, Dad,
primes?
just take the towel.
yeah. Just blink twice if you want me to call for help or whatever.
Like as soon as he said that, I just busted out laughing because I'm like, that is so perfect. He was never going to shut up about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was
Oh,
fantastic.
I mean, seriously, like you want to talk about the best double act ever? I mean, move over Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy. David and Stevie are phenomenal.
Yeah,
I kind of, I was kind of hoping that they would do like a spinoff, but it is what it is.
yeah,
So we got to talk about the biggest character that everybody knows from Schitt's Creek, and it's Moira Rose.
sure.
Catherine O'Hara is Moira Rose. Like
Yeah,
there is no other actress I can think of who could pull off Moira at all.
yeah, yeah,
So before I go in, Dan, can you just give us your impressions on Moira, what you think of her as a character, and what do you think of Catherine O'Hara playing that role?
yeah. Well, I thought she was perfect. And yeah, she didn't even want to be in the role. Really, I saw like a documentary about the show after, and they said like we have to have Catherine O'Hara playing this part. So David kind of begged her just to shoot the pilot, and she's like, "Yeah, because I'm kind of busy, like doing nothing, just sitting on my cottage in Muskoka up here in Northern Ontario, and I'm pretty much done." But she says, "Imagine if I didn't take the part. You know, it was the greatest thing that's ever happened to me, and so much fun." And so, yeah, she really leaned into it and developed the character. You can tell as the series goes on, she starts pushing the accent and everything more, and really leaning into it with the baby and everything. And yeah, she just cracks me up. Yeah, we got to see a lot of her different sides pretty early on. Um, from yeah, from separating the wigs right from the very first when they're getting evicted from the house. Don't mix Cindy with Wendy or whatever. They don't get along together. The two wigs, right? And how much all her possessions mean to her, especially the wig wall. But then how sensitive she is with the criticism because she's in the closet, all medicated, just losing it. And it's like, oh, she looked on Google and saw a bad review or something like that, right? That was great. And then, yeah, and then it was perfect timing that Jocelyn invited her into the classroom. She's like, it looking at a star like you, and then it just here we go, right? I just picked right back up, and yeah, that was disaster going to the classroom.
So,
That was great.
so do you remember? So you remember the episode where Johnny is he's trying to sign a deal with a fruit wine
Yeah, yeah,
distillery.
yeah. He
And
says,
and
yeah, yeah, the fruit wine place where they say, we don't use in pesticides or anything like that. We're all
yeah,
natural. But then he gets a phone call and he says, oh, yeah, sorry, we're just trying to get a new sprayer. And it's like, new sprayer. And then he just said, anyways, yeah. But Johnny, yeah, he wanted to be you know, the so-called man of the family and the caretaker and yeah, when she was getting the part and they didn't want Johnny at all, yeah, you could tell he was pretty crushed and he was a little disappointed in himself, I think. But
he
yeah.
was trying. Yeah, but he was trying to sabotage Moira
Oh,
also.
he was, yeah, because I think he was just so jealous that it wasn't him that they were, and he wanted to be the caregiver, you know.
Yeah, because I'm like, you do know how sensitive your wife is. She locks herself in the closet whenever she sees one bad review. But what I thought was so funny was the fact that when she's doing all these takes, like
Yeah,
she like she flubs one line and she just flips out. But then but then when she gets plastered by drinking the wine, which is not very good, by the way, she
no,
makes a
yeah.
very
This
she
one's
makes
terrible. Give me another glass.
yeah, exactly. She makes it very clear she doesn't like the wine. She actually does a pretty good take at the end.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like, this shit is really good. She starts slurring her words and everything.
yeah,
I I think for me that's like the best Moira episode ever. Is
yeah,
her just doing that because 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 she keeps mentioning how she used to be a huge soap opera star way back in the day,
yeah,
right? But what I also find really interesting too is the fact that yes, she is full of herself, and yes, she kind of does have like this hoity-toity, highfalutin attitude about her, but she's also a very caring person
yep,
because she does gift her coat to Jocelyn at the end of the season, only for Jocelyn to kind of re-gift it to someone else, and you can tell she's kind of hurt by the fact that Jocelyn gave away something that she meant specifically for her.
yeah,
Um, but I really really like that because Moira isn't just this empty-headed kind of person who just lives off the glory days of her being an actress. She's always trying to look for something to kind of get back on her feet.
yeah,
You know, you know.
yeah. When she went back in, she went to the spa day with Jocelyn as well. It's like, gee, you look like somebody. She's like, everybody who comes out of that salon looks like Jocelyn in this episode.
Yeah.
And she's saying it's good for you, and she was like really, and Johnny was like, you have to word it a different way, kind of, because she's saying like it's good for you type of people, and but she's starting to come around, right? And that's I think when Jocelyn said like you might kind of want to give the town a try, and that was a
Yeah.
turning point for her for sure in that episode.
But another thing too is the fact that out of all of the Rose family members, I think she's like she's the most eccentric in her speech patterns, right? It would be like if we started speaking in Elizabethan English,
Yes,
Canada or the U.S. But it's like but it's like nobody else seems to think that's odd. And I remember this one video I watched a few years ago where they were doing like they're doing like kind of like a Siri thing where instead of Siri, it was Moira, and she's like using like all these like fancy. Basically, it was Moira giving driving directions. I don't know if you ever saw that video. I
No,
can see if I can find the video, I'll send you the link. But it's funny
all right.
because it's Moira just basically saying, "Oh, next you should make a turn over here, and when then you should make a right where it bumbulates over here." And I'm like, Moira is one of those people where it's kind of like Shatner almost, where everybody can do an impression, but it's not the impression.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like when people try to do William Shatner, they do an approximation of it, but we all know it's not really William Shatner, but we recognize it. Where Moira is like, we can try to talk like Moira and try to use her, her cadence and everything, but we know it's not Moira. Only
Yeah.
Catherine O'Hara can do Moira. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
But another thing that I wanted to ask you too, because there were 13 episodes in season 1, right?
Yeah.
And throughout the season, we're seeing the Rose family figure out how to adjust to life in Schitt's Creek while also trying to figure out a way to get out of Schitt's Creek. Was there a particular episode that stood out to you that you really thought was pretty good?
Gee.
I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but
Yeah. Yeah. Gee, I don't know if there was one. I mean, just I don't know if there's one particular one that stood out. Was well, it was. I didn't get to catch the last 4 episodes just recently, but it was where they went for dinner. Wasn't that in season 1 with where they ran into their old friends, the steakhouse in Ellendale, or was that season 2?
no, I think that might be season 2. I know.
Oh.
I mean, they do go to a lot of funerals, not a lot of funerals, a lot of dinners, I should say.
Yeah.
But I know, I know I mentioned my favorite episode was when Moira does the wine commercial.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because she's just all over the place. But another episode that kind of stands up to me was the cabin episode.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah. Yes. Yep. Yeah. It was great. Yeah. Yeah.
Now that one took me by surprise. If I can be honest for a second, because I've always had this impression that Johnny and Moira, they love and respect each other, but they don't really go there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Until David walked in and he's like, "Oh my God, I just saw hell."
and then Roland's like, "Oh yeah, you can definitely use my cabin. All right, now all you got to do is just go down the road, and remember, it's the big tree." And,
Yeah. You can't miss it. Keys under the mat.
yeah, exactly. And then Johnny and what I thought was funny is the fact that Johnny is so arrogant, like he doesn't even bother writing down the instructions, right?
Yeah.
So they go to the cabin, and Johnny is really upset because he's like, "Yeah, there's no key under the mat. Like, I don't know what Roland's talking about."
Yeah.
But they go in and they, Moira and Johnny, they have a very fun evening together, and they come out only to find Bob there. So
You're like, "This isn't Roland's place," and he's like, "No, it's the third house down past the tree. You can't miss it."
Yeah.
The same instructions that Roland said, right?
Yeah, that was the thing that made me scratch my head, because I'm like, so basically it's not just the one cabin. There are a bunch of these cabins out in the woods.
Yeah.
It's like, so everybody in town has a cabin.
Yeah, Bob's another character that we got to meet in the first season there.
We don't know that much about Bob, other than
No.
he owns a garage and he's on the town council.
Yeah, and the turkey shoot. He goes to the turkey shoot, which was another turning point for David, because he was starting to get into the towny groove.
Oh yeah,
he actually went to the tailgate party.
Turkey virgin.
Turkey virgin. Yeah, we got to meet Ronnie too, which was great. But yeah, the turkey shoot. Wow, that was great. Yeah, that was a good episode as well. Yeah, and Bob, once David shot the turkey in the neck, Bob's like, well, we'll just wait now for the rest of the turkey family to come out. No, here they come. Like, as if the turkeys are going to come right out. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
But that's the thing, because because I think out of all the characters, I think David is the one who changes the most, because
Yeah,
because in spite of the fact that he doesn't want to be part of the town, he ends up experiencing a lot of it.
yeah.
Because he does the
Even
turkey.
even
Yeah,
went out for the job interview at the grocery store to try. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
Stevie, if there were
That's
any
right.
jobs available, and she's like, "Well, what are you looking for?" And then he's like, "Well, any jobs for like trendsetters or whatever." He said, "Right, I'm more."
Oh yeah,
And then,
social media influencers, and she's
yeah,
like,
yeah. She's like,
um,
"No, but there's a bag boy job, right?"
I mean, but that's the thing though, because with David, like, he comes off as someone who he's he's someone who's pretty much set in his ways, because when Alexis wants to throw a party, David pretty much puts his foot down. The cabin episode, he puts his foot down. It's like, yeah, no, we're not having a party.
Yeah,
But he kind of eases up a little bit, because obviously he just wants to have a quiet evening reading a book, right? Which
yeah,
which kind of makes you scratch your head, because you have this impression that David is a party boy who just goes out
yeah,
and tears up the place, but no, he just wants to have a nice quiet evening with a book. But he ends up experiencing most of the town, where he's going to like these parties, and just getting drunk, and he ends up making out with Stevie, and he
yeah,
does turkey shoot and everything like that. um so in a way, David is kind of like the everyman. He's like the stand for the audience, as we try to figure out what life is like in Schitt's Creek,
yeah,
and see what's going on in all 5 buildings
yeah,
over there.
yeah. And Stevie in that episode, the game night episode, yeah, you could see she was feeling for the guy because he wanted to. Okay, fine, we'll have a game night and all that, and then it just went south from there when all the partiers came over, and you could see Stevie feeling sorry for him. And she came over to his room. She's like, "We could really use you for the, trying to pick him back up." And that's a point where she kind of let down her guard to show him some empathy in that.
I think the sweetest thing Stevie ever did was give David some additional closet space.
for his uh, for his clothes, what she called them, not fancy, but
They were interesting, because remember he tries to take it to the
to the yeah to the thrift
was that
shop, right?
yeah, thrift shop. I kept thinking flea market for some weird reason,
Yeah, yeah,
and the guy's just like, I don't get this at all. But
yeah,
but yeah, I mean, gosh, Schitt's Creek. I mean, you can definitely see why it's such a great show, and the fact that you have Eugene Levy, writing that, and you've got Catherine O'Hara performing, because she makes it look so easy too, when
yeah,
you think about it. Because I think out of all the characters, I think Moira would be the one that requires the most, like the most time to get into, to kind of put yourself in that mindset, right?
yeah,
Because I mean, with Eugene Levy, like, he can just turn on like being Johnny Rosen. That's it. The same with
yeah,
Dan Levy, he can just be David.
yes,
So so the amount of effort and talent that Catherine O'Hara puts into it, and she makes it look effortless. It's amazing, really.
yeah. Well, watching her, yeah, I see some of her characters from SCTV all
Hmm.
blended together to make up Moira. Because you see, like, she played so many different skits on SCTV, but there were many reoccurring skits where it seems like bits of Moira coming through, and so it was just a combination of all the parts she's played over the years to come together for Moira.
Well, don't forget too. I mean, she's also been in a lot of movies that everybody knows and loves. I mean, Home Alone.
Yeah,
She played Mrs. Deetz. I recognize bits of Mrs. Deetz in Moira, right?
yeah,
So if you think about it, it's Moira is the sort of amalgamation of all the characters that she's played over the years, and it's almost like a love letter, really, to the fans
yeah,
who watch it, and they, in your case, you recognize bits of SCTV characters. Me, I'm recognizing characters from movies like Beetlejuice, for instance.
right, right, yeah, yeah, yep. And
So
she still got a great scream, that's for sure. You heard that a lot in the first season. She was
mhm.
screaming a lot when yeah, the doors were gone, and she figured, well, Stevie. So somebody broke in and stole my earrings. But if
Yeah.
somebody just gives them back, I won't press charges. If okay, if you give me my earrings back, I won't press charges. And she's like, okay, sorry, I just have to hit the pawn shop for my crack dealer, right?
Well, what about that scene where there are no towels and she just runs
Yeah.
out and she's like, "Why don't I just air dry myself?"
You're gonna air dry out on the street.
I mean,
Yeah,
she's just so dramatic, but she's just so funny, like
yeah,
she's perfect. I'm really looking forward to us talking about Schitt's Creek season 2. Hopefully we'll be able to do that pretty soon. Are there any are there any things that are coming up for you? Because I know the biggest one was the award ceremony you told me about a few months ago.
yeah, yeah. The award ceremony was huge. Yeah, so I won for album of the year and artist of the year, which you can find on Spotify
Hmm.
for free. And yeah, so that was big. But coming up, yeah, it's I believe it's the 22nd of next month of June. I'm going to be going to Toronto to be part of a video shoot because two bands in Toronto picked up my one song that's off of my album,
Hmm.
Musicians and UFOs. The song's called Armor Hill, and two bands in Toronto. One band's called Grand Fenwick, and the other one's Neon Bloom, and they do like a duet. They decided to do a cover song of my song, which
Oh,
really,
really?
which was incredibly flattering. And so, yeah, so they did this cover version, and they're going to be releasing it soon. But they sent me an advanced copy of it, and it just blew my mind. Like it's so good, it's so good. The guy who recorded it, it sounds fantastic, and then he got the girl from Neon Bloom to sing with him, and the duet that they do is just incredible with her singing in the back. It just blew my mind. And so
Oh,
they're going to be shooting
wow.
a high quality video in Toronto next month, and so they invited me to come up and have a cameo spot in the video. So I'm extremely excited about that. So you'll be seeing that soon.
Oh my good. Oh my
A
goodness.
cover
I
of my
mean,
song.
and you said it's called Armor Hill, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah. It
Okay.
was one of my most popular songs. It was kind of like a '50s, almost kind of a slow dance kind of song, about a nostalgic
Gotcha.
only here in Peterborough where people go to make out stuff like that. So I wrote about that, just slow dancing by the car radio kind of song,
Gotcha.
and yeah, it really took off, and people really seem to connect to it. So yeah, so it's been done as a cover song. It's incredible. Yeah, it really blew me away.
So
So
are
I'm really
you
excited.
are you working on any other projects besides
Yeah, I
that?
definitely am. Yeah, right now I have a new song out, and it's number one in the in our area here in Ontario. It's number one on the indie charts. It's the third week it's been number one. It's called All My Leaves,
All my
and
leaves.
All My Leaves. Yeah, it's about past relationships, like people that have left in your past relationships, and just remembering the good times outweigh the bad. And don't be sad that you don't see the shooting star every day. Just be glad that you were part of it when it was here. And so
Yeah.
that type of song, and so people are really connecting. And yeah, it's been 3 weeks at number one, 2 weeks in a row. So
Hey.
pretty excited about that. Yeah, so yeah, it's been a real chart topper. It's been great. So that song's been really well, and I'm about to release another song. The video's already out. It's called Loving All, and I'm just waiting to release it to the radios as soon as All My Leaves starts to leave the charts. But it's been hanging there for a long time, so I just like to wait till one's gone before the other one comes up. So I've got another one ready to go. So
Oh my
and I'm
goodness,
currently
man.
writing as well, constantly writing. So things are
Uh,
going well.
and you took time out of your day to be on my podcast. I feel really flattered now,
Yeah.
man.
Hey, well, I enjoy talking to you. It's always a great time. It's always a good conversation, and we're talking about my favorite things besides music.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I was gonna say because we've been busy on this podcast. We're like developing new shows and everything. I would at some point like to use one of your songs as the theme for one of them. So um, I'm still trying to figure. I'm still trying to figure out like what show I want to do next. But I will definitely keep in touch with you, and I'll definitely put the link for for your album and for your music, in the description below because it it's phenomenal. I mean, you won.
right on.
I mean, you won the award. You've got a song that's the number one for what you said 3 weeks now.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, Man, like
Yeah.
congrats to you, man.
Well,
Congrats.
thank you very much. Thanks a lot. Yeah, have a listen to my album, and any song you want to use, you're more than welcome.
Yeah.
Villains and Heroes is a song you might enjoy as well.
Well,
It's
now I'm intrigued by Armor Hill because it's because these two bands are doing cover of it. So I definitely want to have a go at that again,
yeah,
just to see if I hear anything. But yeah, I mean, just let me know what your schedule looks like, because I definitely want to, come back and because we are going to do the full review of all of Schitt's Creek.
yeah,
We're not leaving no stone unturned.
yeah.
And then next year, um, I'm 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 putting feelers out for other guests to see if they want to come on. But we are going to embark on the biggest ambitious endeavor ever, and it's a review of The Office.
All
Um,
right, yeah, yeah.
and I'm really excited about that. I actually started watching. See. Here's the thing about me. I never watched the first season. I always start off with season 2 and kind of work my way forward, and then I go back and watch
Okay.
season 1. Um, the only show where I've ever watched from season 1, in chronological order, is Star Trek. That's it.
Okay.
But everything else is kind of like I start in the middle and kind of work my way up and then kind of go back. But I started watching season 2 of The Office, and yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm really excited for doing that. I think it's going to be a pretty monumental task, but I feel like this is something that we can definitely pull off. I mean, we just got to take
Yeah.
it piecemeal by piecemeal.
Yep. I've watched it at least 3 times from one end to the other, the whole series. So yeah.
Just our curiosity before we sign off. Is there a particular character from The Office you feel like you are? Because
That I am.
have people come up to you and said, Dan, you kind of give off Michael Scott vibes. I don't know if they mean that for real or if they're just saying that just to mess with you.
Gee. Yeah, I can't see myself in too many of the characters. Gee, maybe Creed.
Agree.
Just he's a kind of a far different character. Who you
I
never
mean,
know.
I mean, all else fails, you just say you're like Jim. Like everybody's like Jim.
Sure.
Everybody's a Jim. Nobody is Michael because nobody wants to be Michael Scott.
Yeah.
But Dan, I just want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be on this episode and talking about Schitt's Creek with me. I absolutely love the show, and I love talking with someone who has actually been to Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
And if you'll send me the link for your Instagram, I'll definitely give you a follow, and I'll tell everybody I know to follow you and to check you out. And if you have any more awards that are coming up, please let me know. I will spread the word about your music and try to get more people to vote for you, man.
Right on. And I have a website. It's www.danhick.ca.
Okay.
Really easy to remember, danhick.ca. And you can find all my links there and read up all about my bio, things like that.
Excellent. Well, Dan, I just want to thank you again for taking time out of your day to be on this podcast. I just want to thank everybody for taking time to watch this episode. Be sure to hit like, hit subscribe. Let us know how we're doing down in the comments below on your way out, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Thanks a lot.
This wine is all full. Give me another glass.